Well, good afternoon and Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Susan McGuire, Director of Professional Development at ACCE. Welcome to the first ACC University webinar of 2020. We're delighted to have marketing and membership strategist Kyle Sexton here today to talk about changes you can make to your chamber's revenue structure to attract investment and help your organization grow. Before I turn the program over to Kyle, I have a few housekeeping notes. First, attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. And second, after the presentation, we'll have time for questions, and you can ask those questions by using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question, and I will read the question to Kyle. And don't hesitate to type in questions in that question box during Kyle's presentation. If they come to you then, we'll just take them all at the end. If you've typed in a question and we don't get to it because of time limitations, we will put you in touch directly with Kyle to get your answer. And of course, if you have a question that you would just prefer to discuss with Kyle individually offline, you can feel free to contact him. His contact information will be included in the presentation. Finally, the webinar is being recorded. It will be up on the ACCE website on the ACC University webinar page by Monday, January 19th. If you'd like Kyle's slides, you can shoot him an email and he will send them to you. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our presenter. Kyle Sexton is an award-winning marketing strategist and an international speaker and author on the topics of membership development, marketing, and innovation. He was recognized by Chamber Executive Magazine as one of the most influential innovators in the Chamber of Commerce industry. He's the Chamber industry's foremost authority on membership tiers and guides organizations through the transition from a traditional dues method to value-based tiers. His research and methods have been featured in industry publications as well as national conventions and regional conferences. Kyle's innovations have been featured in the Wall Street Journal, and he's the author of Remembership, New Strategies for Remarkable Membership Organizations. Thank you so much, Kyle, for being with us today, and I will go ahead and turn the presentation over to you now.
Thank you, Susan. I'm so excited to be with you all, especially because the universe this morning was conspiring to make today a little more difficult than I had originally planned, because when I woke up this morning at 6 a.m., it was not to my alarm clock. It was to a tree, the sound of a falling tree, taking out power lines. And if you've ever heard power lines zipping and zapping and exploding, it's an unpleasant sound. So I'm not in my studio today. I'm not in my office. Where do you turn when you have important guests coming to town, so to speak, virtually? And you don't have your usual accommodations? Well, of course, you go down to your local Chamber of Commerce and they hook you up. So I am literally hooked up temporarily here at the Chamber in my hometown, Salem, Oregon, because I was backpacking to a place where Uber could come and get me. So walking through the woods, I look you can't see me, but I'm all presentable today, but I'm also wearing my hiking boots because I got to get back too. So the universe cannot keep me from this topic and cannot keep me from delivering value to members of ACCE. So a quick plug for the ACCE Sales Conference. I'm going to be kicking off that conference in Lexington, Kentucky in March. If you've got salespeople, you're going to want to send them to that. So today's topic, I'm really glad that Susan asked me to present on this topic, because I've been really nerdy about membership tiers, and I think most people know that. That's what I do for a living, is I guide chambers from the employee count fair share model or whatever you have currently. I work with a lot of chambers and economic development organizations who already have a tiered membership structure, but something in it has stopped working and they need to figure that out. So that's what I do all day long, every single day. And every time we do it, we learn something new. And so I'm excited to share with you some of the things that we've learned most recently and some of the things that have changed in what we used to build. And before I get into those details, I want to invite you to check out kylesexton.com. There's a ton of great resources there. If you're specifically interested in membership tiers, you can go to membershiptiers.com, and that will take you to a specific section of my website where you can get complimentary videos and resources, frequently asked questions, and white papers that talk about the before and after of a tiered membership structure, and you can get the story there. So, additionally, you can click on resources for chambers, and it will take you to Chamber Daily, which is my daily chamber video series. It's free training in bite-sized nuggets, and we do talk about menus in that in that programming, and we talk about chamber life and the life of an economic development organization. More and more chambers are moving into economic development models, and more economic development organizations are merging with chambers. And this is a conversation that started around 2007 or 8, especially Scott Lauder in 2008 and 9. And we didn't see a lot of action then, but we sure are seeing a lot now with combined organizations. That's changed the conversation when we talk about the top of your menu, the very highest of levels. And that's what we want to that's what we want to focus in on today is how do we cater to the businesses that want to invest at the very top. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've learned along the way. I'm going to share with you the dozen daily dilemmas that businesses face, and how to and which of these your top investors that I call stakeholders. I'm going to use the word stakeholder over and over again today to refer to those businesses who don't want more stuff. They want different. And they're aspirational in their view, and they're not going to come to anything that any event that you throw or any program that you offer. They don't want to serve on a committee. They've told you no to serving on your board, but they've said you can have my VP, and you said no, I didn't ask for your VP, I asked for you, and he or she says no, not interested. So how do we take care of those folks at the very top? Well, first I want to start by talking about the investor paradox. And I don't know if this is a thing, but it's a thing that I've observed, and so I named it. Because hey, that's what we do when we consult. We name things. We identify problems and try to not glorify them or overanalyze them. But the investor paradox is this idea that the people who invest the least need the most, and those who invest the most don't want to talk about what you offer at the bottom. They just don't. They don't want to talk about it. They don't even want to know about it. And if you waste any of their time or attention reminding them that you do it, it will trigger them to say, maybe you're not the right organization for me. So investors at the very top, if you even mention the phrase business after hours or networking, it's going to be not only a turnoff to them, but it might be a trigger to get you out of the room. What they want is to solve real problems and have a conversation. They want an elevated conversation in the rooms that chambers and economic development organizations convene. They want the conversation about the drivers in their business to show up in that room. That's number one, what they want. So we'll talk a little bit about what those drivers are in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to share with you some lessons learned about the physical menu. When I first started researching tiered membership structures, it was 2003. Prior to that, I'd been working in the chamber since 2001, and before that, I had been working in health clubs for 5 years. Before health clubs, I was an intern at a chamber of commerce. So I went from college student to chamber intern to working in sales and marketing in health clubs. And what I did in the health clubs is we created, tiered membership structures, because what we found was a $39 a month membership was a yes or no proposition. But if we could create bundles of services that we offered at $39, at $59, and at $99, it gave people choice. And the more choices we have, the more people spend time looking at your menu. Now, in Chamberland, we kind of take that to the extreme. We have a lot of choices. Well, let's see, if 3 choices get them to spend more time than 1 choice, then what if we offered like 82 choices? Well, it turns out that when you offer in business organizations, when you offer more than 7, people can't remember where they are or why they're looking at your menu. So 7 is the absolute max, but I build menus that have 5 published levels. And so your menu, you want to try to target, you don't want to have everything in your menu all in one kind of a thing. This structure on the left-hand side of your screen is an essential piece of what you offer, but it's really just a way to organize it internally. So this is an internal-only document, and I see over and over again where chambers and economic development organizations that are building their own tiered membership structure are doing themselves a disservice by focusing, by sharing and building from this format. So we don't build from this format. We might organize it from this format after we're done building. But this, if you have a document like this, do not sell from it, because it's a race to the bottom. We're trying to create a race to the top, and this is not it. So do not show a document like this to a prospective member. If you do, it's an indication that you don't have confidence in your ability to build relationships and to sell eyeball to eyeball. More and more, we know that the top investors will not make a top investor decision from a document like this. So what is the right format? Well, the right format is, what I use is an 8-page magazine format, kind of a booklet, 8 pages. So that's 2 11 by 17 tabloid-sized pages with printed 2-up, double-sided, and that gives you 8 pages. You can saddle stitch it, you can staple it. But either way, you fold it in the middle and you staple it. The inside front cover, I want to show you the very first inside front cover that we did here, and why this is also a nope. There's too much stuff on here, and this is also a lesson learned in our own transformation from when we launched in 2006. We went through, I think, 3 different iterations of our menu in the first year as we learned and learned and learned. Well, the good news for you is that it's not going to take you 3 years to research and then 3 years to learn. We have so many great examples, and now there's resources like me who can walk you through this, and we can build this in a single day, because we know now what we don't have to do in order to get to our end result. It used to be that we did an inventory of absolutely everything in order to determine what went where. Now we start with the member profile in mind. I'll show you what those are in just a moment. But this is what the inside front cover looks like today of a menu a menu that was recently created. And this actually represents what your members want to see when they open up the inside front cover. They want to see somebody like Brad, the CEO, president and CEO of the chamber, a photo in action of Brad actually advocating, of doing the public policy work, of doing the relationship building, of presenting the facts, of being the voice of business. I'll show you another one at the very end that is a great action photo of a chamber CEO. Headshots, they can go to your website if they want to see your headshot. They can go to your LinkedIn profile if they want to see your headshot. If you want to motivate and compel businesses to understand what you do, we need to show them what you do in action. Okay? So this was a photo that the newspaper took. Is it the best photo of Brad? It's a side shot. You can tell that he's, probably that he's at city council or he's at a county commissioner meeting, because that's a recognizable kind of a place in that community. But here, this page represents a few things that your inside front cover, that your menu ought to have. Number one, an action shot that shows the influence and what I call a power photo, that actually shows the influence of your organization. So we want to do something at a microphone, at a lectern, on conducting a tour or participating in a tour of a manufacturing facility or some other recognizable place in your community, some action shot that demonstrates your authority. If you are a chamber executive and you're less than a year on the job, this is especially important. I can't emphasize that enough. Really, did we hop on this call to talk about the photo of your chamber CEO? Well, I'm giving you lessons learned, and this is a big one. They say a picture says 1,000 words, but only if it's a good picture that does what we want it to do. So the other thing first of all, it's an action photo. Secondly, I don't have to look in the fine print to see who that's a photo of. And thirdly, we've got a quote from Brad that talks about that gives a brief look into the mission of the organization. The reason the hello, I am invested image, the second image there, the reason that was a nope is because of all the text. We learned that there's a place to put all of the text. And it's kind of like that membership packet thing that you have right now. You got that folder that's got your chamber logo on it. It's a folder. It opens up, and then you just got the two pockets, right? And you walk through the lobby of the chamber, and you grab all kinds of things, and that's your membership packet. And it's the information dump, and it's just a terrible thing for your member prospects, for your investors. It becomes a thing that they never open. And they might put it on a shelf, and it might make you feel good, and it might make them feel like, well, if there's ever any question that I might ever have about the chamber, I can look at that outdated information in those flyers. And also there's a map for some reason in there, and I've lived here for 30 years. So rather than focus on the packet of information and the information dump, we want to really streamline your menu. The text, the long list of text, goes on the inside back cover, where we have essentially the benefits that you offer right now. They go in the back of the menu. Now, I realize, now as I'm looking at this, that it might appear that this traditional membership level for $440 appears right next to the inside front cover when you open up that 8-page menu. It's not. It's actually is in the very back, not the back cover, but the inside back cover. That's page 7, or the traditional membership level there. You'll notice no graphics, all text. Now, the text, what we've also learned here, lessons learned, is we used to, when we first launched this, and I didn't know any better, we would just describe the membership level. This is another lesson learned. So I've actually hired a StoryBrand certified copywriter, because copy is a little bit art, a little bit science, and StoryBrand is a methodology that teaches the formula for writing compelling copy. And we've applied this now to all of our menus that we've used since, that we've built since March of 2019. So we're coming up on a year, and I'll tell you that anecdotally, the evidence is that we're sitting in front of businesses now where the members are there, where we're seeing now how much they do actually read the introductory text to any particular membership level, and they look at something and they go, and they look back at us and they say, "You just described me." So instead of using this text to talk about the membership level, we now use that copy to talk about the member and their problems, what they're trying to accomplish. So we don't talk about us, and this is something that chambers and economic development organizations everywhere, we need to keep beating this drum. Stop talking about ourselves, because every time we do it, it's a right hook. And we can't just, we have fatigued our members with all of these right hooks, and it becomes easy to see it coming. We know it's a pitch, and people are tired of it. What you can do is to jab, 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 and then right hook. And a jab is a piece of value. A jab is something for free, a download, a how-to. People like me do things like this kind of content or article, or free recipe, free how-to kind of a thing. So come to this event for free for your first time, that sort of thing. So we need to deliver value 3 times before we make our ask, before we right hook them. So good copy also helps members to identify what room that they want to be in when we offer options. The other thing that the inside front cover of your menu ought to address is a summary of where of the different investment levels. And this is a draft. You'll probably spot some little boo-boos, but this level here, what I want to point your attention to is the member benchmark. And we use this scale. We've been using this scale since 2006. We tested menus without it. They don't perform as well. Having the member benchmark in there is really important, because it becomes a part of our story. And we want our members to ask, what's that $679 member benchmark, and sometimes called the cost per member benchmark. And this is something that is part of a transition from employee count dues, and it helps us to combat the discount mindset. And this doesn't help necessarily to attract more of the stakeholders and top investors, but it does push people up from the bottom, which also helps you drive revenue. So we want people to ask what that is, and when they ask what that is, I say, well, that's how much we spend per member per year to do what our board has asked us to do for you. That's how much we spend per member per year to do what our board has asked us to do for you. And you don't even have to say anything beyond that, because underneath it is in red and up above it is in black. We, as business people, they know what that means. There's a compulsion inside most people that says, I don't want to be at the bottom. And we're actually getting people, when we lay out the membership menu for people to look at and give us feedback and to tell us where they think they're going to land, we get people who instantly point at the bottom and they go, well, I definitely don't want to be there. And how liberating is that? Isn't that just awesome to know that you can talk about what the chamber does in a way that people go, I don't want to be at the bottom? Because right now we've got a lot of people who think they're winning the race by being at the bottom. And like I said before, that other document is a race to the bottom, and I am trying to create a race to the top. If we know the rules to the race, we can manipulate the race and create the race to the top. Let's get members to brag about how much they invest, because it's more than the minimum. Okay, so I want to remind you, before I hop into the dozen daily dilemmas, these are the top 12 issues that face businesses as I go from chamber to chamber throughout the U.S. and Canada. Before we do that, I want to remind you, as you have questions, go ahead and type them in and Susan's going to be reading off those questions, and we're going to do a little Q&A session before we close here today. Okay, so don't wait for the end to type in your questions, and don't think that, oh, he might answer it. Go ahead and type them in as you have them, because that's really helpful for us. Okay, and again, if you want the slides to this, just go ahead and send me an email to kyle@kylesexton.com. I'd be happy to send them back, send you a PDF of these slides. So these are the dozen daily dilemmas. These are the numbers 1 through 12 things that we're hearing from businesses, no matter what quadrant they're in, no matter what business profile they're in, whether they're aspirational or transactional, whether they show up to things or they don't. And these are in no particular order right here, but I'm just going to run through the list of them first. Talent and workforce, I'm probably preaching to the choir, but unless you're not actually having conversations with businesses that you should be meeting with, and sometimes we are reluctant to meet with the members that we haven't heard from in a long time because you kind of don't want to wake the sleeping bear. That's you're like, maybe they don't know they're investing $4,000 in our organization. It's been a long time since we've met with them. Let's not remind them how much they're investing because they might pull it. I'm here to tell you, go meet with them. And first thing out of your mouth is just to say, I know we haven't met like this before. I'm here to change that. That's all you got to say. They're going to appreciate it. But these are the members that want to talk about talent and workforce, the ones that you haven't seen in a long time. Talent and workforce are clumped together here, but they are different problems. Talent is, I need an engineer. We're hiring for nurses. We can't get physicians. We can't get electrical engineers. We can't get architects. We can't get welders. Those are talent-related things. Workforce is we can't get food service. We can't get we can't get our entry-level workers to pass drug tests. Our new hires need coaching and soft skills. We're hiring kids right out of high school, and they don't have the soft skills. Talent and workforce are different things, but in the chamber world, we tend to lock them up together. So for these purposes, I locked them up together. So there you go. You get two. Number 2 is marketing and visibility. I need marketing for my. I'm trying to outposition my competition. I'm trying to hold off the threats to my business. I need my business is a destination. We need visibility. So that's number 2. Now, this isn't anything new for chambers. However, sometimes the way that we are prescribing that businesses get marketing and visibility is we're saying, show up for things. Times have changed. Businesses may not want to show up, but they want to invest in something that helps solve their problem, whether they show up for things or not. So bundling benefits that help tell a member's story. Remember, I was talking about story brand content. Read the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and you'll better understand what we're trying to do with marketing, what businesses are trying to do with marketing and visibility. They're trying to drive awareness about their offerings, and they're trying to use copy and messaging to tell a compelling story. Rather than think about this as advertising, think about it as storytelling. The words that your members are using as you sit in front of them, they're using more, and I should actually update this. So the marketing and visibility, the terminology that people are mostly transitioning to today is messaging and storytelling. It's not a one-shot ad. It's telling a story with little bits of information over a longer period of time. Number 3 is branding and positioning. This is different than marketing and visibility because branding is about telling a story about your values. And of course, it's not your logo. And your positioning is about comparing you to alternatives. So banks and credit unions care a lot about branding and positioning. At some point, it becomes down to marketing and visibility, but the bank wants branding and positioning. The mortgage department wants marketing and visibility. Number 4 is learning and best practices. They want to be in a room with other smart people, other people like them. Seth Godin says, people like me do things like this. So that leads people to organize themselves into a room and to analyze that room and say, are my people here? Are these people like me? So you'll find that, I use this example all the time, if a restaurant owner shows up to one of your programs and sees no other restaurant owners, he or she is probably going to say, people like me don't do things like this. And it's different than let's say a commercial cleaning company. Commercial cleaning company sends their salesperson, not the business owner, sends their salesperson to one of your programs. They look around the room and they don't see another commercial cleaning company, and they go, gold mine. I'm going to kill it here. I'm going to come to every single one of these things. So you've got to really figure out what the intent is of people who are members in order to determine what rooms they want to be in. Businesses that are just trying to stick their toe in the water with your organization, they want to come to some of these to your programs to learn about you, to learn what you talk about, to learn about the business issues that other people want to talk about. They want to learn from experts. So these are not necessarily lunch and learns, although they ask for them like crazy. We know that lunch and learns and educational programming by itself is not a great driver for chambers of commerce anymore. There's just too much competition. There's too many alternatives, and it's too expensive for us to produce these things in a way that allows us to be competitive or to brand ourselves in this way. It's more about introducing learning and best practices to the other programs that we know we can build our own chamber brand around. I think I'm on number 4 or 5 here, leadership development, leadership and team development. These are trigger words. And when you start talking about team development and leadership development, you will see some people sit in their chairs and lean in a little more closely. I'll show you exactly who in just a minute. But these are absolutely trigger words. If you are a Chamber of Commerce that does not have a leadership program, I think you should be starting one. Call me. I have helped several of my chambers to start their very first leadership program, and they tell me, like Susan in Venango County, Pennsylvania, tells me it's the best thing she's ever done in her 20-year career in the chamber. She's super, super excited about it, and it's rocking and rolling. So these are absolutely trigger words and what businesses are asking for. Connecting and socializing, this is different than networking. Networking is not working in most chambers of commerce because, again, too many alternatives. I'll make one exception for that. The Vancouver, British Columbia Board of Trade is really, really good about networking, teaching networking, and getting people to show up for networking. They're a little bit different, but but connecting and socializing you'll notice that millennials have a very different attitude around business events and programs than do boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, and Z. So the millennials have a very different attitude towards this. They'd rather organize their own event. They don't need us to connect them. So they want to connect on their own. But connecting and socializing is a business need, but they are tending to do it in much smaller groups than we're putting together. Hiring is different than talent and workforce. Hiring is about your human resources process, onboarding, drug testing. Hiring is a process for mostly the masses. So the big box retailers will talk about if you sit down with a general manager of Best Buy or Walmart or Costco, etc., they will tell you that they have some hiring challenges. It's different than talent and workforce. And it may be that they're having trouble finding people who can pass a drug test. It may be that they're finding that the people who come ready to work, who are otherwise ready to work, don't have any experience or formal training in the thing that they need. So it's different than talent and workforce. Fundraising, you hear this talked about with startups and with the nonprofits, the charities, primarily charities, but the 501c3 organizations, which are different than nonprofits in general. It's a much more specific niche. Sales, you'll hear this with the business services companies. They have sales goals they need to hit. You'll hear this with financial advisors. They've got a quota that they are trying to hit. Succession planning. This is a trigger in organizations that are developing the next level of management. They're looking to identify talent within their organization and get that talent connected to the community and connected to each other. So succession planning is very much a topic in especially firms, accounting firms, law firms, banks and credit unions, title and escrow companies, and the like. Regulations, that's not news to anybody, but there are some quadrants there's some business profiles that want to talk about that more than others. And then in general, the economy. Now I put the economy last. Lots of people want to talk about it first. It's not as hopping as you might think, although this economy is moving and grooving. When we get down to specific industries, there are some areas where things are just there's been some hiccups, and so everyone wants to talk about that. A lot of that right now is around raw materials and tariffs. Okay, so if you're not hearing that conversation in your own community, you're probably not getting out as often as I am and talking to businesses. All right, so those are the dozen daily dilemmas that face businesses, and this is the map to remembership. So now we're going to place those 12 on this map because this is where I see each of those popping up. Learning and best practices, connecting, and fundraising are in the bottom right quadrant. Now, those who want to get something done through membership, through your organization, are at the top here. Those who have to get something from you, the transactional mindset, is at the bottom here. Those who are involved are on the right, and those who are not involved, they are just writing a check, and they're what we call a remote member, are on the left. So marketing, hiring, and sales are the hot topics in the bottom right quadrant. Positioning, leadership development, and succession planning are the hot topics in the upper right quadrant. Banks and credit unions, title and escrow companies, firms of all types, commercial real estate, commercial services, that sort of thing. And the economy, talent and workforce, and business regulations are hot topics in the upper right and the upper left. Okay, so what can we do? How do we take these pains, these business problems that people have, and incorporate them into our menu? Well, this group here, they like to buy things a la carte. So they like to stick their toe in the water on the membership dues side. They want to buy the basic package, and this is what I call the cult of huggers. They want to show up for everything. They really, really want to be seen. Socializing is a big part of their connecting and socializing is a big part of why they show up. They're going to drink $400 worth of coffee to justify their membership investment at your networking events. Okay, so the mark in this bottom left quadrant that we call the business investor, they're not going to come to anything, and they're the ones who have told you they're not going to come to anything by not coming to anything. So what they want you to do is they want you to make them famous. If you can build a menu that makes them famous, they're going to look at that level that might be 2 to 3 times the price of the Cult of Huggers level at the bottom right, and they say, I want that. I want that. And it's been a long time, maybe, if you don't have a tiered membership structure, it's been a long time since people looked at your membership menu and go, I really want that. I really, really want that. Okay, so when you do this Make Me Famous effort here in the bottom left quadrant, you want to be building benefits into your menu that don't require people to show up in order to utilize it. These are things that we will do for you invisibly. Well, not invisibly, quite visibly, but you don't have to do anything to do it. We're going to do it for you. We'll do the heavy lifting, and we're going to promote you. We're going to reach out to you to get this done. Okay, so Make Me Famous. My business is a destination. In the upper right quadrant, they want to serve and lead. So if you put serving and leading in, if you put that into your benefits at the upper right quadrant, you're winning. Okay, and I'll get a lot more tactical on that in just a second here, and then we'll take some questions. In this upper left quadrant, this is where it all happens right here, and this is why we are having this webinar today, because we want to talk about the next level of investment and how do we get people at the very, very top. What is it that they're looking for? They're looking for value signals. Value signals. What are value signals? Here's another version of this map. And I have named these different quadrants: classic, promoter, sponsor, and investor. Again, the classic, they want things a la carte. The promoter wants you to make them famous. The sponsor, there's a formula for the sponsorship, for the sponsor level here. I call it sponsor, but it contains no sponsorships. Or at least it doesn't contain any of your existing sponsorships. Why? Because sponsorships don't scale. If you've got one title sponsor to your banquet and you build it into a bundle in your membership, you only have one of those memberships to sell. And I'll tell you that right now, if you go to membershiptiers.com and you watch that third video of tiered membership mistakes that you don't have to make, you'll see that sponsorship is a membership mistake that you don't have to make in building your tiers. Sponsorships just don't scale, and some of you have decided to be clever and offer sponsorship credits. Well, that works for the first 2 years, and then you realize you really goofed. And that's when you have to call somebody like me, and we have to untangle the knot and figure out what we can do to keep growing after all of our sponsorships are taken. So this specific equation for the sponsor level in the upper right quadrant is, I need something bigger, better, more than what you've offered at the lower levels, promoter and classic. I need convenience. I'm going to go to these things anyway. I'm going to go to that event or program anyway. So now it's built in. And I need exclusivity. I need something that I can only get by investing at that level, and I cannot buy it a la carte. You see the a la carte thing down below. How do you get people to point at a level and say, I want that? You make it exclusive to the level. This is where we create something new, and this is where we go to my bag of tricks. And I show you things in my consulting process. I show you things that we are organized and budgeted to deliver that are of high value in that upper right quadrant. But this is the formula. I'm giving you this is my straight up. I've never publicly talked about this formula. The bigger, better, more, the convenience and the exclusivity for this quadrant. That's what they're looking for. Okay, and now the investor levels. This is again what we are here to talk about, and we're going to open it up for your questions in just a minute. So start typing if you haven't already. The value signals. What the heck are value signals? Corporations and firms and businesses, they want to tell the world about their values, and you see it. You see it in advertising now. Some advertising, is still price and product advertising, But other marketing and messaging is really about value signaling. And when a company starts talking about how much they volunteer in the community, that's value signaling. When they say things like "we're your neighbors," that's value signaling, that we share your values. When they talk about, I was just talking with Amazon last month. Amazon desperately wants to get connected into school systems, and they want to be introduced to areas where they and their employees can get involved in volunteering in schools, in the neighborhood where their facilities are located. And so your chamber or economic development organization can be a connector for that, but that is a value signal. They want their employees to be connected in the community. They want to tell that story publicly. Okay, so you're thinking about Amazon. I was meeting with McDonald's not too long ago. This particular family owned 13 McDonald's locations in that particular area. They were kind of the same story. They want to be connected with the schools and the neighborhoods where their McDonald's locations are located. This is value signaling. They also want to be telling a story that they want help telling the story that these McDonald's locations are not McDonald's corporate locations. These are family owned, locally owned and operated. Okay, so other than value signaling, and which is a big part of messaging and a big part of sponsorship, a lot of sponsorship is about value signaling. When you sponsor a charity, a children's charity, you're saying you care about the kids in your community. It's value signaling. Other than value signaling, there are internal and external gifts, and there are public and private ways that we say thank you. These are the things that investors will value. They don't view that they are buying them. They view that they are sponsoring you at a high level, and you are giving them special access or special service. Additionally, if you can look at those pain points that they have in talent and workforce, in the economy, and in regulation, and you build benefits and features for your membership that cater to that need, things that you've never thought of before, things that you don't currently offer today as a benefit of membership, but these are things that people desperately want. They're going to point at it and they're going to go, I want that. I want that. And that's the reaction that we get. I'm going to show you very this. This is not a Chamber of Commerce. It's a Mississippi Manufacturing Association, and this is a project that we finished just last year. This project did not incorporate the copywriting that we use in our latest menus, but this is a late draft that we used. You can see that the president and CEO here. This is a microphone photo. It's a photo of him testifying at the state capitol. And this particular person doesn't need any introduction in the state of Mississippi. He is known. He is influential. He has relationships and a big personality. So he's a known person. But still, having a photo of him at the Capitol testifying is an action shot showing what you are doing and where the investment is going. Okay, again, showing the member benchmark, showing the level below the member benchmark in red is essential. We had ranges here because we're still working on some things at this particular stage, this last final stage of the menu. This anchor level here, very top level, has a great high quality photo of someone who works for one of the manufacturing members, and it has no more than 7 and at least 3 different desirable and valuable benefits at that level. The producer level, again, at least 3, no more than 7 distinctly different, valuable, and desirable benefits. You can see that it's advocating for policies that benefit employers. 2 key words there, policies and employers. These are trigger words for those people in the upper right quadrant. Moving on down, this is a different format than the format that I gave you before. This is a horizontal format publication, so this is a special printed menu. But again, high quality imagery, very simple, very, very simple. You can see for $4,500, only 3 things? Yes. How's it working? It works. I don't believe that it'll work. It'll work. The builder level here, I'm gonna volunteer to pay 2 to 4 times what the basic classic member invests, and I'm only gonna get 4 things. Yep, because they don't want to be at the bottom. Again, counterintuitive. The investor's paradox. Those who invest the least need the most, and there it is, all the most. Okay, and then there's the back cover. So this, again, is an 8-page format. So I wanted to show you a real example. This works in associations, it works in tourism organizations, it works in economic development organizations, it works in chambers of commerce. That's the show. I did that in I did that whole thing in like 18 breaths, Susan. That's all I took.
Thank you so much, Kyle. That's great. That last brochure is awesome. Really love those photographs, and great job. Anyway, so everyone, it is time to type in your questions. I have a few in the queue right now, but if you have any more, please type them in, and I'll just start at the top and go down the list.
Let's roll.
First question is, how do you calculate the member benchmark?
Good question. And this is also covered in the Frequently Asked Questions ebook at membershiptiers.com. You take your total annual revenue, you subtract any contracts or grants that might go away, and you get your subtotal. You take that subtotal, you divide it by the number of members that you have today, and that gives you your member benchmark. It's a storytelling. It's not an accounting number. It's a storytelling number. And so we want to use that to tell a different story about what it means to be investing at the bottom. We love to use it to say that we don't offer discounts for charities or nonprofits. We allow charities to choose from any level, regardless of their employee count. They can choose any level, including the one at the very bottom, which you can see is usually about half of what the member benchmark is. So they think they're getting a deal, and they are.
And Kyle, that formula is in the Membership Tiers ebook, you said?
Yeah, the Frequently Asked Questions at membershiptiers.com.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next question. What levels, dollar amounts, do you recommend for investors? And what are the best practices for starting investment level, and how much to increase per level? I guess that's several questions.
Good question. I'm going to go back a slide to show you. I'm going to go back a couple of slides to show you. And I can't write on this, but I'll just point, okay? So the investor level, if your current, take your current level, your current basic level. I'm one employee. I'm a for-profit business. I'm located in your town. How much am I going to pay? Write that number down. And then, do you have a processing fee? If you do, write that down in there too. Add those two numbers together, and then answer me this: what is that number going to be 3 years from now? And that number that you put down here at this classic level is X. Okay. Now let's go up to the investor level, the very top. It's usually 20X. It's usually 20 times. And then you have a 10X level at the sponsor level. You have a 5X level at the sponsor section there, and you have usually a 2 to 3X at the promoter, somewhere in there. Okay, so it's not an exact science, but there is a formula for the ranges of the prices. So yeah, and that was a big discovery actually, because previously we were operating off of a 16X top investor level, and what we learned from our research is that the top performing economic development organizations and chambers Actually, we're doing a 20x level at the investor level, and we've produced many levels that have a level even higher than that at the price of ask. We just put ask right there on the price. So hope that helps.
Okay. How frequently do you suggest revising your tier levels and associated benefits?
Every single year. Pick a time every single year where, if you're doing an annual staff planning session, that's a good time to include your annual review of your membership offerings. There are things that are going to happen throughout the year that if a program goes away that was included in a level, you need to update it right then and there and communicate that to any affected members. But if outside of kind of triaging situations like that, you want to pick a time once a year. Some years you're going to have a change or two or three, and some years you're going to have none. But we also want to be looking at, after 3 years of introducing a new membership tier structure, you want to be increasing your membership dues at the bottom or any levels below your member benchmark. You want to increase those every year.
Okay. Does each level include all the benefits of each level below?
That is correct. Yes, they do stack up. So like rungs on a ladder, the higher you go, the better the view. And that structure, once they understand that structure, it allows them to look at your brochure, your menu, and see, I almost said brochure, but people don't make $10,000 investments from a brochure. They do from a menu. But when they look at your menu, and if you can get them to understand the structure, then they can take in the information much more quickly.
Okay. What's the difference between internal and external gifts and public-private thank yous in that investor tier?
Oh, that's an informed kind of question. The public and private ways to say thank you, we'll start there. A public way to say thank you is to have a membership benefit such as your logo on our homepage. They wouldn't spend 10 grand to have their logo on your homepage. They're spending 10 grand to help your organization grow. You are publicly thanking them by putting their logo on your homepage. It's not a benefit. It's a thing that we do to publicly say thank you. A private way to say thank you is to invite your major stakeholders to an invitation-only reception that's being held before or after your a speaker banquet that you have, where you've got an exclusive speaker, where you might invite them to your to just a private reception. So that's a private way to say thank you. It's exclusive. And you may not even put that in your membership benefits, but it's a way that you treat them differently. On the public and private gifts side of things, the external gifts and internal gifts. An external gift is a gift that you would help them to give publicly. That's all I can say about that benefit until we start talking about what's possible for a specific chamber. But an internal gift would be something like if you've got a young professionals program and you've got your membership to your young professionals program is, let's say, $75 a year, something like that, and you include up to 10 young professionals memberships in your top investor level. That's an internal gift, a gift that your president, CEO of the business who's making the decision to invest, they get to walk through the halls of their own organization and say, you get a young professionals membership, and you get, if they have their Oprah moment, right? It's internal gifts. Okay.
Okay, that's great. For a chamber going from fair share to tiered, what is the time frame for the transition?
Well, that varies. It depends on if you've got help like someone like me or not. We regularly see chambers struggle for up to 4 years doing this on their own. The transition in my projects, we have you launched within 3 to 6 months. We sometimes can launch you within 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your needs. Most of the calls that I get, though, are for people who say, yeah, January in 2021, we'd like to launch it a year from now. And I get to say to them, we don't have to wait that long. In fact, we can be rocking and rolling by then. Would that be all right? And they go, yeah, we would love that. So putting a timeline on it that's too long or too short is one of the challenges that most teams face. And it's usually because of questions from their board. Their board asks the question, how long is this going to take? And they feel like that's a pressure, that the pressure behind that question is, let's do it quickly. That's not what they're asking. They're just asking for clarity. So don't rush it. Figure out how long it's going to take. Most chambers in the 700 to 1,200 range are taking about 3 years. If it's 300 to 700 members, they're taking about 2 years. We want the first year to be pretty quiet. We just want to quietly go have meetings one-on-one before we start making things more public.
Okay. Well, folks, we are out of time. We do have some more questions, but as I said before, I will just send those directly to Kyle, and he can get in touch with you. One question that someone had, I will answer here, which is where to find the recording so that you can show it to others on your staff or review any of the concepts. It will be posted on our website, on our webinar page, ACCE's webinar page, which you can find by clicking on professional development. You hover over ACC University and then click on webinars, and then scroll down. They're in reverse cron order, and this one will be at the very top no later than Monday, January 19th, so you can find it there. And as Kyle noted, if you would like the slides in a PDF form, shoot him an email, and he will be happy to send those to you. So
those requests are already coming in, Susan, so we got lots and lots of people asking for them. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Kyle, thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Is great information. I learned a lot. And everyone else, thank you for your participation. Let me see if I have info on our next webinar here. It is, I don't have the date. It's our From the Winner's Circle webinar with Kit Kramer of the Asheville Area Chamber. I believe that's January 31st. Where she will share the story of the Chamber's Woman Up program, which provides professional education, mentoring, and inspiration to women at all ages and career stages in the Asheville area. So look for notices about that webinar. It's a sensational program.
Do not miss that webinar. Kit Kramer is a rock star. You do not miss that program.
Yeah, she truly is. She truly is. So that's going to be one to really participate in. And then as Kyle mentioned, please take a look at our sales training event page. You can get to that from the ACC website. We just posted the agenda. It's going to be sensational. Kyle will be there. Lots of folks from around the country. So join us, please, in Lexington. That's it, everyone. Thanks again, Kyle, for taking the time to present. To everyone else, have a great afternoon, and we will see you on the next ACCE webinar. Bye-bye.